Hello and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. So today's topic is mindset, and the title is Live Like It's Tomorrow. So, what in the world does that have to do with anything? So I want to present a question that we can use to kind of think through our daily actions and what might be the best choices that we can make today. So, that question is, when it's tomorrow, what will I wish I did today? So, a little background story. I am not naturally a morning person. So, if I was left to kind of do things however I wanted, if there wasn't such things as bills and having to make money and pay bills, I would probably go to bed around 1 or 2 in the morning and wake up around noon. That seems to be the natural thing for me. So I remember when I was in high school, I always had a hard time getting to bed by 11 or 12 and always hated getting up at like 6:30, 7 o'clock. I was actually, out of 181 days of school, my senior year, I was late 130 days. Now, that should have given me to be expelled or anything, but it was a small school and thankfully I got away with it. But yes, I was late to homeroom 130 days. Because I absolutely hate mornings. When I was in college, I used to actually work out at midnight till about 1:30, 2 o'clock, get some food, get to bed by 3. I never scheduled any 8 a.m. classes until I absolutely had to, but that was my normal routine. So then, when I had to enter the real world, and I had a business to take care of, and I remember when I used to teach at the local university, my first classes I taught were 8 a.m. classes. And the structure of the day and things I had to do, it made it to where I had to get up at 5:30 every day to make sure I could work out from 6 to 7:15. Then I would get a shower, get paperwork ready, and teach at 8. So I remember when the students would come in, they'd still have, crusties in their eyes, hair all messed up, and they'd be coming in whining that it was 8 o'clock, and they had to actually do things at 8 o'clock in the morning. I remember telling them, I'm like, this is regular life, this is the way it's going to be, you have to be an adult, da-da-da-da-da. So I was on my high horse, even though 2 years prior I was the lazy punk coming into class late. So it never was really natural for me to go to bed early and get up early. However, as the business has grown, as the things that I want to accomplish in my life have grown, I have found out that it is more and more important to maximize the usefulness of the day. And one of those components is being awake before the world gets in the way. So in a customer service type job, which is essentially what I do, when people are awake, they need things. So they don't care what the things that you need done are, they need their things done. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, that's what I've been in business for. So I'm happy to help people. But when people are awake, that's when things get in the way. So it's better for me to get up earlier before everything gets in the way, get a couple things done, maybe my big to-do list things, like 1 or 2 things that are really significant, very important, and I have to have them done to have the best day for me. And I've found that not only does that allow me to get those big things done before life gets in the way, and even good reasons to miss that stuff, the important stuff, come up. So even if you miss it, even if it's good reason, you still missed it. So for example, sometimes when people they'll tell me the excuses as to why they missed their workout, or the excuses as to why they didn't eat well, and I tell them that I don't give a shit. And the reason why I say it that way is their body doesn't care. So if you have osteoporosis, you have arthritis, you have high blood pressure, you have diabetes, whatever the hell kind of health issues you have, if you do not eat correctly, okay, and you do not exercise, your body does not just magically get rid of body fat because, you meant to, okay? You don't automatically get stronger muscles because, I would have worked out, but your body doesn't give a shit. You get absolutely nothing when you do nothing. So it doesn't matter what the excuse is as to why you didn't eat well, you will die of the conditions that you are suffering from. Okay? If it's that severe. If you're just maybe overweight and you want to lose fat, You don't get to lose fat if you don't eat correctly and exercise correctly. We don't get results from things we don't do. So I found in business that the bill still came. I still had money owed to things. I had people wanting things. I had a business to grow, demands to meet. And it never mattered as to why those demands weren't met. If they weren't met, they weren't met. So excuses mean nothing. All excuses are, you can reword it and say, okay, I'm aware of why I missed this thing. Now I can use the awareness to make corrections and changes. So that's what you would want, quote unquote, an excuse for, is to know why you missed it and then correct it. So if you know why you miss healthy eating and you do nothing to correct it, you're an idiot. You're fully aware of what your problem is and you're doing nothing to address it. Okay, good luck with that. You're not going to get any results, right? So same thing with exercise. If you're supposed to exercise and after work you feel tired, you got to go home to take care of the dogs, you got to do this, you got to do that. Then once you're home, you just don't feel like leaving the house. Guess what? You're still going to be fat and lazy and you're never going to work out. You don't get results from things you don't do. Now, I sound like a total jerk right now, okay? But it's good that we recognize that because this will help you in life. It really will. Makes me sound like a jerk right now. But it's good to recognize that if we don't do things, we don't get things. So you can have the best excuse in the world as to why you're not taking care of your health, but you're still going to have poor health. That's always something to remember. Now, if you don't have that severe of an issue, say you just want to deadlift 405, okay, or bench 405 or squat 405, whatever your number might be, okay, and you have that in mind. Maybe you want to win a bodybuilding show, a strongman competition. Maybe you want to make it to the CrossFit Games. Whatever your goals might be, if you don't do the work of those goals, you don't earn them. That's just the truth of it. It doesn't matter why you didn't do the work. If you didn't do the work, you don't earn the result. Okay? So, I found out in business that for me to make more money, and it's not that I'm all about money. I think everybody knows that by now if you listen to this podcast long enough. But money is important. Money helps me, keep the lights on in the gym, helps me pay my bills so I can stay in business and help people. So, if I'm able to make enough money to support my way of living, I get to live and do the things that I love. In terms of work, I get to help people. So I need enough of it. I don't care if I'm ever driving a Ferrari or stuff like that. I don't need that much. But I need enough. And for me to make sure that I'm making enough in business, I found that I had to get up before the day got in the way. And what was necessary for me was to get up early, to force myself out of a natural habit. So if you have a natural habit of not liking exercise, you have to force yourself out of that. If you have a natural habit of loving sugary foods even though you shouldn't have them, you have to force yourself out of that. So you have to force yourself to change if you want to be different. Okay? If you want a different you have to do something different than what you've been doing, right? Kind of makes sense, but somehow we don't put that all together. So what I found for myself was I had to get up earlier and I had to become better organized with my time. So it sounds easy, right? Just get up earlier. Okay, I'll just set my alarm early and get up out of bed. Well, we all know that does not work. Okay, so there needs to be actions behind that intent that make it possible. So I wanted to kind of show those actions, and then it'll lead into why. So starting with the morning of, the morning that I want to wake up early, and then we'll work our way back. So the morning of, I set up a waking up time. I have my alarm, and I have a reminder connected to my alarm. Okay, so I named my alarm something that helps motivate me. Now, what that is personal, and you can pick your own things. So for me, it's a Bible verse about discipline being difficult. And it reminds me that the best things for me are not the easiest things. So I have that alarm set because it's the best thing for me. When it goes off and I don't want to wake up, no shit, I don't want to wake up. Okay? My body loves easy things, but easy things are not what's best for me. So I see that Bible verse and I get my ass up out of bed and I get moving. Now, I have some things I do in the morning. I actually like to drink like a A caffeine drink, oh yes, I know. Masters of Nutrition, here I am as a nutritionist, saying that I drink caffeine in the morning. We are all going to die from something, so pick whatever you want and enjoy it. So I enjoy sugary caffeine drinks, and they help me get up in the morning. So I like them. So until I have diabetes or some health issue, I'm going to keep up with it because I enjoy it. So I get up in the morning, I drink that. I usually have some kind of thing I want to do right away, a small, manageable accomplishment. Now, we've all read, like in books, or you probably have heard about, like the concept of making your bed. So, to where if you wake up in the morning and you make your bed, you've officially done something productive for the day and you started the ball rolling. I don't really care too much every day if I make my bed or not because it's going to get messy the next time I lay into it. But I do like the idea of small little accomplishments. So, something that I actually enjoy doing is making Instagram posts for the business. Now, the wonderful thing about Instagram is it ties in with Twitter and Facebook, so I only have to do it on Instagram and kind of get sent everywhere. Well, I actually enjoy making those. So it's something that I'll wake up in the morning, I'll drink my drink, and actually kind of write the post for the day. And it's something that's exciting, gets my mind awake, gets me kind of motivated for the day, gets me excited to be able to help people. So maybe there's something I'm saying in this post that'll help someone's life become healthier and happier. So it's good motivation for the day. So that's what I do in the morning. I set up an alarm. I have a good reminder to get my butt up out of bed. And I do a thing or two that motivate me and get my day started. But the ability for me to get up in the morning does not start in the morning. It actually starts the night before. And it actually starts the day before. So, the night before, one of the changes I made was instead of watching YouTube and stupid videos that don't benefit my life, I started listening to audio things. So whether it's a podcast or whether it's an interview on YouTube, somebody like famous or somebody who wrote a book about something I want to learn more about, it's just something. So I listened to something instead of watching something. What that does is it's less stimulating in the sense that I do not look at my phone, so I don't have the light of my phone shining in my eyes, and I don't have to be in a active muscular position of holding the phone or holding a computer or doing whatever I would do to be able to watch. So I can actually close my eyes, get into my favorite sleeping position, and just listen. And now often I'll drift off really fast to sleep, sometimes not even like 2 minutes of the audio. But if I was holding the phone and watching like a YouTube video, I'd be up for 2 or 3 hours, absolutely wasting time, not doing anything really productive. So that's one thing I did. So I switched from a visual stimulus to an audio stimulus. I also I did melatonin. I used melatonin when I was first trying to establish a good sleeping pattern. So I would take either 5 or 10 milligrams of melatonin, depending on how sleepy I felt, about 20 to 30 minutes before when I wanted to go to bed. And that would just kind of help me be more sleepy around bedtime. I might wake up an hour or two after that and be kind of awake and struggle to get back to sleep, but I at least was starting to fall asleep at the right time. So I don't need melatonin anymore, actually. Now I've kind of got my sleep pattern set. But that was something that really helped me at first get myself to be sleepy when I wanted to be sleepy. Another thing I did was the last meal of the day, I stopped eating as much volume. So being somebody who wants to gain muscle and gain mass, and I like having, big muscles and I want to be strong, I tended to have large meals before I went to bed. So my body would have food and protein to process throughout the night, repair the muscle damage from the previous day's workout, and have me glycogen stores full and be ready to go the next day full of energy. But sometimes that was an issue for me. I'd either have to get up 2 or 3 times in the middle of the night to go pee, or since I sleep on my stomach due to throat surgeries when I was a kid and some other issues, having that food in my stomach and then trying to sleep in my stomach just created really uncomfortable pressure. And sometimes I'd actually wake up with acid reflux or some other issues related to that. So I found having a smaller meal allowed me to improve my quality of sleep. But in order for me to have a smaller last meal, I had to have larger meals before that to account for my caloric needs. So the 2 meals before my last meal had to start getting bigger. So you can see how it's leading now into the previous day. Another thing I did was before I left my gym, which would be my place of business or the place of work, before I left work that day, I would already have my list planned for the next day's work. So the idea of what I needed to get done, when I needed to get done. I would have that done before I'd leave the business. So that way my mind was already cleared of that type of stuff by the time I got home. Then also the day before, I made sure I had a strategic use of caffeine, and I had to actually time when my lunch was and eat it in a different way. So I found if I have caffeine in the morning when I wake up, because I like the flavor of it, and then I train my mom every day at noon. So if I have a caffeine source before my mom's training, after her training I'm fired up and excited, I use that caffeine to kind of go through the afternoon lull that we all have. And what I also found was after my mom's training session, if I got back into my office and I started doing work, computer work, answer emails, doing whatever I want to do, but if I stayed busy, I was fine. And I wouldn't be really sleepy. I'd just kind of work the whole way through the afternoon into the evening. But if I broke that work rhythm and I went to, say, go get something to eat out away from the gym, I would find myself kind of come back, and when I sat to eat it, I'd sit down, get sleepy because I broke the rhythm of work. So instead, now I have food that I make at the gym quick and easy. I just toast a bagel, throw some lunch meat in there and a slice of cheese, and munch that up while I'm still typing up emails and whatnot. So I had to change my lunch, change my afternoon and evening meals and my final meal. I had to change my work starting at noon. I had to change my mindset of when I planned my next day's work. And I had to start using melatonin, and I had to start switching from a visual aid to an audio aid. So I start every day pretty much at 11:30 with behaviors that allow me to wake up the next morning on time with decent energy and ready for the whole next day. So, in order to have an early morning, I start specific habits midday the previous day. So the things I'm doing today set me up for a great tomorrow. So, again, I present you the first question. When it's tomorrow, what will you wish you did today? So, we've all felt the guilt or remorse or the consequences of yesterday's poor choices. So maybe yesterday we kind of were too busy to eat during the day. We piled in a bunch of food at night. So the next day we kind of were feeling tired, low on energy, tons of cravings, really moody because we just weren't prepared. Our body was kind of still stressed and worn out from the day before. Maybe we have low energy today from staying up last night watching stupid crap on TV or a movie or stuff on YouTube, things that really didn't benefit our lives. Things that didn't make much of a difference. Maybe they made us a little bit happy in the moment. And we've talked about ways to kind of do self-care and how disconnecting into the world of YouTube and movies and TV is not a really good form of self-care. If that's how you're finding your me time, that is not a very good type of me time. So we did a podcast relatively recently called The Fast Food of Self-Care. And the point of that podcast was that it talked about the high quality forms of self-care that progressively make us better day to day, instead of the fast food, unhealthy forms of self-care that just kind of get us through day to day, but not better from day to day. And that was podcast 420, titled The Fast Food of Self-Care. So we've talked about that. So we can feel the consequences of poor choices of self-care that lead to low energy levels the next day. We also have momentary choices of laziness per day. That we know we should do something, but we just kind of don't feel like doing it, so we don't do it today. But then it gets added to tomorrow's work. And then tomorrow, which then becomes the today of tomorrow, all of a sudden we have a bunch of crap to do. We're super stressed, high anxiety, and we're just, freaking out. So we've all felt the guilt, remorse, or consequences of yesterday's poor choices. So we need to be careful of the choices that we make today because they will impact our tomorrow. So just like I have to make choices starting every day at noon to make sure I can wake up the next day on time, full of energy and ready to go, we all have choices presented to us today that will either hurt or help our tomorrow. So you need to ask yourself that question when faced with a choice. When faced with something you kind of sort of know you should do today, but you just don't kind of feel like it. Say to yourself, when it's tomorrow, What will I wish I did today? When faced with those choices, we can ask ourselves, tomorrow, will I wish I did this today? If the answer is yes, get it done. Okay? No questions asked, just say yes and get moving. Find a way to get it done today so you can have a great tomorrow. Cool. Okay. Hopefully this gave you a fun outlook, something to think of, maybe a question you can apply to yourself this week. Okay? So when you're faced with a choice every day, if you come across a choice, it's like, oh crap, I don't feel like doing this. Just ask yourself, tomorrow, am I going to wish that I did this today? If the answer is yes, find a way to get it done. Okay? Cool. So if you ever need any help, any motivation, or just kind of figuring out life, and if there's a way that you think we can help, our email is brutalironjim@gmail.com. So we're always happy to help, okay? If you like the podcast, please share it with family and friends. The more people we help, the happier the world will be. Also, if you like this information, you can find more from us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Brutal Iron Gym. And if you have any questions, feedback, or suggestions, we'd love to hear from you. The podcast is for you, so we want to know what you want to learn about. You can tell us at our email at brutalironjim@gmail.com. As always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening. Thank you for watching.